Okay, so I'll pose a question and then somebody can answer it. So two different people made comments about the quality of elementary and secondary education, and I have now failed for 30 years trying to work in the United States to improve the quality of science and math and eventually technology education for all students, not just the future science and engineering professional workforce, because we actually do okay at that. But as Dr. Vest first pointed out, and our other panelists mentioned, we have not done well at improving the education of all students, and therefore all the data are that our labor force is lagging behind the rest of the world. So, question A, are there lessons to be learned from either Switzerland in particular or the rest of Europe about how you build on the strengths of the higher education system to influence the elementary and secondary education systems? What is it that could be done to actually move the issue? Because I think the other statistic that wasn't mentioned, and if you just think of this in terms of the professional scientists and engineers, Europe in the aggregate now outpublishes the United States. It's actually been doing it since 1996. Although the US is cited more often, papers from the US are cited more often, Europe is outpublishing the United States, and the differential in citations is falling very rapidly. So the quality of European research has gone up tremendously as well as the quality. Does that somehow, is there something in that that could be used, or something we, the scientific community, could do to improve the quality of elementary and secondary education? I think I'm obsessing about elementary and secondary education. I would accept thoughts from anybody, and if that's boring, go to something else. That's at least a question. Anybody?
We have to hear from Seth.
Shall I start?
Sure.
So the first question you're asking here is a question that actually I'm spending a lot of time on right now. I'm in the state of Michigan, one of the worst states in the union in terms of its unemployment rate right now. It's devastated by this economic downturn. And one of the questions we're being asked is, what are you offering for this? And needless to say, if you look at graduation rates in Michigan, in many cases, the graduation rates, even of high schools and the science achievement fall behind even the U.S. average. So basically what we're asking at the university is, what is our role for this? And I think we're kind of getting a consensus for the first time, certainly since I'm there, and in fact, Dr. West was there before I came at the University of Michigan, so he should talk about that from a broader perspective. But basically, what we're getting a consensus for is, yes, we have something, this is part of our responsibility as a university, a state university, to start going back into the schools and creating programs. We have, for example, internship programs in which students in engineering are spending time, 4-credit time, that they can count towards their educations, mentoring students in high schools. We have that in some pilot programs, but we're intending to deploy that in a much broader sense. So for us, to give the short answer, is I think there's broader systemic problems. For us, as a university, we think actually that we can contribute in a positive way to this by mobilizing our tremendous workforce, which is 40,000 people or more at the University of Michigan, not all of which, of course, can teach that, but we want them to go back and take responsibility for this in part. That's only a small facet, of course.
Dr. Imbo.
Yes, thank you. I'm not going to give advice to the United States how to improve their school system, but I can make an observation regarding our own school system. In fact, Thomas Torbogen mentioned that we are too much egalitarian with respect to our university selection process. It has changed in the last years, and I must say, for instance, that's certainly not true anymore. They have professor, doctor, or whatever. and the groups are becoming smaller and so on. But it's interesting on the school level. The system is very different, as you know. I mean, Switzerland, together with Germany, Austria, and Denmark, have a dual system with a lot of vocational training. 2/3 of our young people do not go to university, but they go through a vocational training, and from there they have the possibilities open to move up through the system. So to a certain extent we are more cruel to say only a small fraction is going to the higher schools, to the high school, and then to the university, which on the other hand makes those people more capable to survive in praxis, in practical work. I would say a typical strength is there that we do not believe that everybody should go to the same kind of school system, but the people should try to learn. Learning on the job is an important issue, and this makes them also more flexible in times of crisis. The small companies like those people very much. They train them as well. So I know we are a minority even within Europe, but I believe that this is another aspect where we probably are exactly doing what you say we should do, namely to be more selective in the way how we educate people.
I'm going to slightly change the subject, but I've been thinking, I was very taken by Robert's comments, and it suddenly dawned on me that we're getting some interesting complementarity now between Europe and the U.S. Two of the things I mentioned as weaknesses were U.S. lack of a sort of cultural appreciation of the importance of sustainability and all the things that go along with that, and also a little bit the drying up of venture capital. You know the data, I don't, but most of the investment I've seen, venture capital going into Europe, has been in areas like renewable energy and so forth, where they're doing really exciting things that we're just now getting turned on as a nation to. And the second, I made the comment that we have, for 30, 40 years, in my view, underinvested in the physical sciences and engineering. And I will tell you, there are many very knowledgeable, very dedicated scientists in the United States who will simply make a flat-out statement: Europe now has the lead in physics over the United States. And so I think, you know, we're developing some complementary things. I don't know whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but it's an observation.